Well, hello and welcome to In the Process podcast. Here with me today is Sam Tinevra.
Hey, what's up,
Uh,
guys?
so I know Sam for a while now. We went to the same college, the University of Texas in El Paso. We've been friends for a while now, since like probably like a year and a half or two already.
hmm
And yeah, here's Sam. Here,
Uh,
give us a little introduction about yourself.
hey, what's up? Thank you. First of all, thank you, Roman, for having me here in your podcast. This is the first time that I'm doing a podcast, and I'm super excited. Um, so yeah, a little bit about myself. I'm a first generation college student. I went to the University of Texas at El Paso, study computer science, and uh, I think right now. I'm a person who's really interested on startups, and that's because at college I was part of a five-person startup, and we were trying to do uh, pretty much connect people uh, with their surroundings through their phones, and
Mm-hmm.
after um, long story short, I left the startup because they wanted me to drop out. And since I'm first generation, my parents didn't quite like that idea, so I just ended up
Mm-hmm.
finishing school. And by that time, I had the opportunity to be an intern for two companies as a software engineer. One of them
Mm-hmm.
was USAA, which is a banking uh, and financial services for
Yeah.
the military people here at the US, well, globally. And then I also was an intern for Uber. And currently, I just graduated last semester on December, and this whole ever since like December from 2020 to our current time, I've just been trying to explore different routes, different career paths, you would say, and yeah, that's where I'm currently at. Just exploring uh, more things that I never really had a chance because engineering school
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of it takes up your time. So yeah, that's what I've been doing, and I'm I'm still exploring pretty much.
Cool. One of the reasons that I wanted to talk to you is because of that, because of our interactions before. I've noticed that you like so many different things outside of just computer science and technology in general. Like you like a lot of art. I know
hmm
that you have like an eye for photography,
hmm
video. I know that you started doing TikToks, and those are doing pretty good. Like the
Yeah.
numbers are kind of high. So that's well. Thanks for the introduction. Um, Tell us what are you doing right now. Like, what is one of the things that you're looking into, like a career path that you're looking at the moment that you're really passionate about, or has caught more of your attention than another career path?
Yeah, so you lag a little bit at the beginning, so just to what was the question again, real quick?
Very good. That what is the passion, that the career path that you're looking at the moment, that
hmm
that calls
Yeah.
you more than other career paths that you've gone through in the
hmm
recent like months?
Yeah, so I think this has a whole story that I need to first give a little bit of context just to so it makes sense. But basically,
Go for it. Go for it.
yeah. So when I was in the startup, I realized that I think the thing that makes me want to do stuff is just people appreciating whatever I create. And when I was at the startup, I started I started like reading a bunch of books on how to create a startup, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think something that I found really amazing is that at the end of the day, you're just trying to find in the startup world, you're just trying to find like a problem that you're just trying to find a solution for a problem that actually matters, a problem that
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of people have, and that
Mm-hmm.
hopefully those people would find value in your solution enough to like
Mm-hmm.
purchase it or start using it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
when I was reading that, I started realizing how, when you really think about it, uh, like at the end of the day, engineering is just like problem solving. And if you think on a really abstract way, from an artist perspective, you could pretty much
Mm-hmm.
say the same thing. Like if you're making a song, you're just trying to find a sound that people would find appealing enough to just spend their time listening to it.
Mm-hmm.
And how can you make that happen, right? Like how can you start like doing stuff that people would find for value on it in order to just um like consume it. And
Yeah.
when I left the startup, I realized that one, or I'm not 100% sure about this, but I one of my theories is that there's us as computer scientists, we're always
Mm-hmm.
just like surrounded about problems that we're like being a computer scientist narrows your perspective into thinking as a computer
Mm-hmm.
scientist, right? Like you're
Yeah.
just you're just gonna be thinking about problems that you have. And I think I saw like with I'm it's kind of hard for me to structure my thoughts right now, but long story short, um, computer scientists are looking for problems on spaces that all the computer scientists are trying to look at, right? But when you
Mm-hmm.
look into uh, like how is a farmer going to find a computer scientist in order to solve their problems, like that's a
Mm-hmm.
connection that's highly likely not like it's not gonna happen, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I started noticing like through marketing,
Mm-hmm.
I started noticing that problem that right now marketing is becoming all like pretty much all the marketing right now it's going through the internet, right? Like
Yeah.
how can you market yourself on Instagram, TikTok, and all those platforms? And uh, we're coming up with software that enables you to see like how many time people are spending in your ad and all this kind of stuff. And it's getting too technical to a point where a marketer, someone who studied marketing, is not gonna
Mm-hmm.
be able to use the tools to do the marketing campaigns and all that. So that's where
Yeah.
then the marketing people start hiring computer scientists in order to use these tools, and then you start building
Mm-hmm.
a team to solve these issues, right? And I started
Yeah.
thinking like, okay, so this is just like the marketing market right now sector, right? But what about, like as I said before, like the farmers, or what about like the artists or the medical field, like all these other fields where technology hasn't really been a focus as much as like a phone. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like I think that I start thinking like, oh, maybe that's like a really nice place where I can maybe find something interesting, and I just uh like connect the dots and maybe create something from there, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that that made me start like talking to other people outside computer scientists. So I just
Mm-hmm.
started like I joined a single. A I joined to a club from each college in our university, and
Uh-huh.
one of those clubs that I joined was the club for writing for on the liberal arts department, and
Yeah.
that's where I started seeing more about like the art kind of space, and that really caught my attention because I think one of I think one thing that I like doing is just doing things that people think they're hard, or
Hmm.
people think they're really complicated, just because I
Yeah.
like the challenge. And one of my friends, who's Nick, uh, Nicholas Venezia, he's
Hmm.
a cinematographer, and I think he's like my best friend. And I did my internship at USAID with him, and I started
Uh-huh.
realizing also like how he's also a computer scientist, and he his passion is video, and
Hmm.
he would tell me about like the struggles of like the process of becoming a cinematographer, right? Like,
Yeah.
and when he started talking to me more about that, I'm like fuck, like this is hard. Like being an artist, I think that's like one of the most difficult uh professions that you can like choose, because in reality it's almost like winning the lottery,
Hmm.
on the aspect like you can make a good song, and like people either gonna like how do you make that a million people like your song, right? And then how do you make it
Hmm.
so your next song it's also a hit? And when I started like thinking about that, I started like connecting the dots with the whole startup thing again, and
Hmm.
I started thinking like, okay, how can I help artists, um how can I help artists to achieve that dream, right? Like there there
Hmm.
has to be like an algorithm or a process in order to have a really good chance at making it as an artist, right? And then
Yeah.
that's when I started thinking like, okay, so if I want to help like artists, then I think I have to uh, connect more on a deep level,
Hmm.
and that's where I started thinking like, okay, I'm just gonna try to become an artist myself, a creator myself, and just try to see if I can apply the things that I've seen on the startup world, and maybe try to see if I can somehow find enough insight to help other artists. And
Okay.
that's that's where I start I that's when I started like painting, drawing, also
Hmm.
like producing music, and just recently TikTok, and
Uh-huh.
and and I I think all like all that like I don't know why, like I've seen that, I don't know if this is true, but like I don't remember where I saw this, but I think like millennials, and like Gen X, like for some reason, one thing that they want is just like become famous or have like attention and all that.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know why, but like I think I relate to that. Ever since I was kid, I remember that I wanted that, like I wanted to be famous, or and I don't know why, right?
Uh-huh.
I wanted to like do. At one point, I wanted to be like a gamer, and yeah, like I, I totally forgot why I went into that tangent, but coming back, it was I think for like the last 5 years, I I really focus on computer science and creating like how can I create a product related to technology, because I think right
Hmm.
now technology is like the it's like the best it's like the easiest way to create something through software. Like you don't need a lot to create up something, You just need a
Mm-hmm.
computer and then internet connection to upload it, and you can make something crazy, right? Like Facebook or
Yeah.
Twitter's. Like, if when you really think about it, it's not like, the idea is not that complicated. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I like I think on college I was really technology driven, but then when I started experiencing this other perspective, and then I saw like my friend Nicholas Venezia with the
Mm-hmm.
cinematography and all that, and the whole art kind of space, then I, I really wanted to give it a shot, and that's what I've been doing like this last like 3 months, just trying to focus on art,
Mm-hmm.
and and I honestly think that I just came to the conclusion that if like being on a STEM, because I've also started like hanging more with people who are not on the engineering field, and they're like the
Uh-huh.
same age as ourselves. And coming back to your question, like the different career paths, it's just like at the end of the day, I think you just have to. I think it just gets break down to like two things, and it's just like money and doing like what you love, like
Mm-hmm.
doing whatever you love like doing. And I think that's kind of hard, because I think a lot of people, including myself, at some point think that happiness comes through money. But
Mm-hmm.
like I I think when I was working at Uber and I was making like really good money, I started realizing that like for like money is something nice to have, but it just gets to a
Uh-huh.
point where it doesn't really I or maybe because I've talked to this with another person, with a CEO, and what he tells me is that when you think like money's gonna make you happy, he's thinking about
Mm-hmm.
like millions, like getting to a
Yeah.
point where like you just can do anything you want, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. For me, I feel like it just gets to a point where, like, in reality, like, what do you want to buy with the money? Like I I think at the end of the day, like the most important part is like how do you want to spend your time, and
Mm-hmm.
and when we're talking about like choosing the career path, I feel it's kind of hard to say that, oh, I want to be an artist, but to a certain degree you need money to survive, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it really difficult for a lot of people, um because for us that we're studying like a STEM field, like like we just graduate, we get a job at a not like you can get a job at a decent company, not even like top company, and you're gonna be fine money wise.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then it I for what I'm seeing with my friends that are graduating and all that, is that I like, do you really think your job is like fulfilling you to like 100%, right?
Yeah.
And is that like the like how is like for example yourself, like you right now you're currently working
Mm-hmm.
a software engineer, and it's just like, do you want to focus like 100% on this, on like becoming the best software engineer possible,
Yeah.
or uh do or do you want to also like start fulfilling like another career path? And I
Mm-hmm.
think I think that's something super hard like to find, because I know people that they 100% sure, they are 100% sure of what they want, and they want to do that till they die, right? Like if they could
Yeah.
spend their whole time doing like that one thing, they would be doing it. And for myself, I feel like I haven't found that. Like I
Hmm.
think computer science was just like a challenge that I saw that I kind of like, and I'm like, okay, cool, like this is fun, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I want to do this like I want to be the best at it, right? Um,
Hmm.
so I think that's something that I'm still struggling or trying to still try to find that
Figure out.
thing. Yeah, figure out like that one thing that I'm like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. But at the same
Yeah.
time, I'm not sure like if, because I think there's the possibility that we're constantly changing, constantly like growing up, um,
Hmm.
and you get exposed to different experiences. It's like, how would you know right now that you're not you wouldn't like being a, I don't know, like dolphin trainer or something like that? Like
Yeah.
like you wouldn't know until like you do it or you get exposed to like that kind of experience.
Yeah.
And 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 maybe until like, let's say you're like 65 and that's when you get exposed to that experience. It wouldn't be
Hmm.
until like you're 65 that you would know like, yeah, this is like what I want to do. So um I don't know, like for the whole like, I think for me right now it's just about um just doing whatever you like doing at the
Uh-huh.
moment, and trying to, like, if you can figure out a way to make money out of it, that's good. But I've also realized that when the money when you put money into the equation on whatever you're like doing, then
Yeah.
it changes. Like the process, it's different. Like when
Yeah.
when you're working, like it's working, it's way different from like doing a hobby, and
Hmm.
I think that's something that I just barely noticed when I wanted to do like art and stuff. And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, this is like what I want to do for a living. And when you start thinking like, oh, how am I gonna make money out of it, and I need to start like putting the hours, even though I don't have the inspiration right now, or you just like
Hmm.
have to force yourself to like do it. And I think that takes away from like the fun part of it. So
Hmm.
yeah, I think that was like a whole like rant. I think I need to also work a lot on how I express my ideas. But yeah, with the whole career thing, I would I would say that lately on TikTok, I've been seeing that like you need like 5 hobbies, one that's like gonna produce you money, one that's gonna like help you with
Uh-huh.
your well-being and all that. And I think that's true. Like I think you I think you need a job, and then if you are lucky enough to like do something that you like, and then you can make money out of it, and
Hmm.
you're so good at it that it doesn't even feel like you're like working, then you just like hit
Hmm.
the spot. But if you cannot do that, then, or if you haven't still found that one thing that you just don't even feel like you're working, like you're just like doing it constantly, and people just love it and you can make money out of it, then
Yeah.
um yeah, you just did it. But I haven't found that, and I think
Hmm.
it what I do is just try to do more stuff until I hopefully find that one thing.
Hmm. Okay. So everything that you said, I've gone through it
Mhm.
too.
Yeah.
And for me it was right before I started working. uh,
Mm-hmm.
and that's basically why I went to consulting, technology consulting. That's my end goal,
Mm-hmm.
because I was also interested in so much stuff right after college and during college that I was not really really sure what I really want to concentrate my 100% of my time working towards to. So
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of why I also got into computer science, because when right before like college, I was in engineering, like an engineering team in high school, and I knew my question at that time was, what is the subject that I'm gonna explore many other subjects at the same time? And for me, it was
Mm-hmm.
computer science, because of, like, we know that at that point everybody was using like programmers, everything was being programmed, every tool that we use is basically being programmed. So I was like, you know what, like computer science and programming will eventually touch like science, agriculture, like so media,
Mm-hmm.
even like the most remote, like you said, the example of the farmer, like we're using IoT devices to handle crops and
Mm-hmm.
help them grow. So at that point, yeah, that's I want to say that we have like a similar, like, kind of discover our career path, trying to
Mm-hmm.
find what is our best suit. But I what you're telling me, I feel that a lot of people go through the same thing, that and I believe it's something that we grow up to think that, oh, we have to do this and this is what we're going to do for the rest of our lives. And then I don't know if it happened with you, but right after college, right before I started working, I was like, wow, like this is my degree, this is what I'm supposed to be supposedly like specialized in, but my interest really goes over that. Like I have interest in, like, for me, I've been interested in photography. I love movies. I've really looked into, what if I write a script and stuff like that, like you, like, but your journey, your process has been more like, okay, so I want to get more perspective of like artists and what they need and how can technology like solve their needs.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
really, I feel that's really good, because you're like grounding yourself to that mentality that they have. And I'm not saying that you're not an artist, because dude, your drawings are great. I've seen them in everything that you post on Instagram. I'm gonna post it right here in this video. It's great. Like I don't know how you have that, like, that vision when you're drawing,
Mm-hmm.
because it's really interesting. And I believe that is something that you probably had dormant throughout like your college career. How you said that you were only concentrated on finishing college. You didn't have the time to touch like your artistic side of it. But
Mm-hmm.
right now, I feel I feel you going and putting in the time to try different stuff is really good. And I feel that a lot of people that should do that, because they jump from like, okay, let's go, like going to college, and then, oh, they start their job, but they don't find fulfillment because they did not see other options, or they did not go through their career phase in their 20s or even in their like teens, to actually
Mm-hmm.
discover themselves and actually find a voice. And and that and that part that you said, that you wanted to, like, you felt that you wanted to feel famous, or you wanted to be famous,
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's just like kind of like having your voice heard
Mm-hmm.
for other people. Because with me, I grew up not as an extrovert, more like I was like half and half. I was like introvert, half introvert, half extrovert. But at some point, most of my teens and until right now, I feel like, yeah, like I went through my DJ phase and my artistic
Mm-hmm.
phase, and I try to sing and everything. And I feel it was more like I just wanted to be heard. I don't know if you felt like that as well, like you wanted to be recognized more than famous. And
Mm-hmm.
I believe that that's something really that we go through, basically just try to be heard, that we we extend it to like, oh yeah, I want to be famous, I want to be heard by and known by a lot of people, which is
Mm-hmm.
good. And right now with TikTok, with like Twitter, Instagram, like the amount of people and how easy it is to be out there, it's it's like something that we never imagined before. I wouldn't. When I
Mm-hmm.
was in high school, I did not imagine it at this point. Like if you had something good, you would hit like thousands and thousands of people. Like in
Mm-hmm.
TikTok, so like the algorithm. What I've seen is like if you're constant and you have good content, you're gonna be recognized. Like yours, like what I've seen, like one day I see them and then I see them another day they're like 1,000, like close to like 10,000 or like 20,000, and it's crazy. So
Mm-hmm.
though your whole process of what you've gone and what you explain, I feel that a lot of people are going through that, and that's why I wanted to talk with you, because that whole process, like I love how you touch in different areas and you actually thrive through them, because like your art is good. I've seen your what you actually did like for computer science. I've seen your coding. It's good. Um, your content at TikTok is good. So it's really interesting how you touch something and you try to work to it, and you actually you know what you want, and you're just having to learn how to do it, and that's great.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that that process of learning is really good.
Mm-hmm. Thank
So
you. Yeah.
no, you're welcome.
Uh,
Uh,
yeah.
it's a process, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Right now, you mentioned about um, like I feel one thing that I've noticed is that
Hmm.
when you start breaking up down like the process of making stuff, it just comes down to like principles. And
Hmm.
like at the end of the day, there's no more like than five principles to make something happen, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's I think even like like with math, like if you know exactly like the principles of something, then you can build up everything to like you can start building up. Like you just need like the founding blocks, and then once you master those, like it gets
Yeah.
really easier to just start spending. And one thing that um I really like a lot of psychology. And
Hmm.
when I like psychology a lot, and because of that, one of the things that I like it's marketing. And with marketing, one of like the principles of like things to go viral is one of those is like comedy. So one of the things that I started to like to do more research on is like what's exactly like comedy, like why do we laugh? And it's
Uh-huh.
crazy to think about it. This is one of like the things that I talk with the people. And with there's like at the end of the day, you laugh because of three main things. Like this is
Hmm.
research, and one is feeling superior. So whenever you feel superior to something, it's highly likely that you're gonna laugh. So when you think
Uh-huh.
about like when you see someone fall down or trip, you're gonna laugh because unconsciously you're feeling superior, and that produce like laughing, right? Or
Yeah.
uh, jokes that are making fun of something or someone. It's like you just think you're a little bit smarter unconsciously, and then you just laugh. So
Yeah.
one is feeling superior, right? And then another another principle for laughing is incongruency. So when and you can see this like on SpongeBob a lot, like when you just suddenly like see something that's like totally out of context, that produce
Yeah.
you like laughing, like and that's weird, right? Like something that doesn't make sense just it's gonna make you laugh because incongruency. And then the last one is just releasing tension. So your body automatically uh starts producing laugh laugh laughs, because it's a way for your body to release tension. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why it's really common. So when someone goes through like a really scary experience, just to like they start laughing, and it's just because it's a way for the body to like release um laughing. And when I started like noticing those things, it gets easier to just like, for example, with the whole TikTok and all that, I think it's just like, oh, if you want to make something funny, then you just start thinking on those things, like how can I make
Yeah.
people feel superior, and or how can I uh something that like how can I make incongruency or stuff like that, and then out of like it's just gonna work because that's just how things work.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I think that's like one of the things that I do on my process is just like understanding the principles of the things that I wanna do. So
Okay.
and just like really try to understand those principles. And once you do that, then just like start mastering those things, and that's like what I do. And also like how I say it, like for example, like the viral thing. There's like this book called Contagious, and basically it just goes through like the five principles of like why things go viral. And like I said, one is like comedy, but then there's also like all like another example is like social currency. So if you can make something that it's gonna give social currency, which
Mm-hmm.
like social currency is just if I say something that's gonna make you feel better or give you some value, then I'm giving you like social currency. and
Yeah.
and that like because of that, because I'm feeling that I'm giving you something that's gonna
Mm-hmm.
make people start like spreading the word of mouth, and that's gonna eventually start making like something viral. So a good example in the book is just there's like restaurant there's like a restaurant that started like making the golden like steak or something like that.
Y- yeah,
And
I know which one you're talking about.
yeah, and just because you're like that gives you like top like that gives you, if you know about that, then it gives you like a, I forget like the word, but it gives you like
Like status?
things to say. No status, but it gives you something to like if you were a part of a conversation, it gives you something to say,
Yeah.
right? Like, oh, do you know about like this restaurant that like
Oh, okay.
the you know, and that's gonna give you like also like that it's gonna produce like the word of mouth and all that. So I think it's really important to like, if you want to make something, just like find what are the principles on that whatever you're trying to do, and then just research, do some research, and then just start applying that. And I
Yeah.
think that's just helps a lot.
Okay. Okay. So one of the things I'm trying to learn is trying
Hmm.
to how you said communicate better. So I had not thought about those five principles. When I've jumped into something, for example, this podcast, I guess the only principle I really wanted to have is like this, like kind of find a structure of it, as in what I needed to do, and like what I needed, like technically, like in sense of the microphone and the interface and how I'm gonna record it, but not to the level of psychology or just the background of it, or how to cause more, like in this case, more engagement. Because
Mm-hmm.
on what I'm understanding with yours is that you're working more in a psychology side of it, and that because you like psychology, so you're applying what you know to try to
Mm-hmm.
get more engagement from your audience. So I had not thought about it like that. I usually jump into stuff and try to see,
Mm-hmm.
it's like jump into it and see what comes best. But
Yeah, what
I'm gonna
works.
apply yeah, I'm gonna apply what you're saying, because that it gives a structure to it. It gives you like a structure to follow, like guidelines, like okay, I'm gonna do this A B C, and it kind of secures you to, if you have results, or secures the results to have, because you've seen it before. You know that, how you said, if like in SpongeBob is a great example. You know that if you put something out of context, people are gonna laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And with TikTok and with your TikToks, for example, I've seen some that, yeah, that I'm just like, wow, like out of context stuff, I'm just, yeah, like that's super random, or stuff that you know that you wouldn't do, but
Mm-hmm.
because you're putting yourself more intelligent than what your TikTok is showing. Is like, how is that's so dumb. I would
Mm-hmm.
not do that. And then it creates engagement. So now that you're explaining your process of doing, for example, you hear your TikToks, I'm gonna apply that, because it seems that it's working, because your numbers are growing, and it's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and also, for example, like one thing that with communicating, in when I was like trying to help my friend Nicholas Venecia with the whole like being a cinematographer and all that, I started like digging more into like what are like the principles on becoming uh, a director and all that, and
Mm-hmm.
like at the end of the day, they're gonna tell you like you need to be good at storytelling. Like if you
Yeah.
think about it, like if you're good at at storytelling, you're gonna be like your life is gonna be so much easier because people are gonna be paying attention to you. Um, so then it's just like, okay, so what are the principles of good storytelling, right? And
Yeah.
when you just start diving more into that, it's great. I think that's what I found more fascinating about life is that thing like at the end of the day, I feel like nothing is hard, but it's hard to see how simple things are,
Yeah.
like losing weight. Like when you really think about losing weight, it's a lot of people fail at just losing weight. They think it's super complicated, but at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like you just have to consume little. You just have to consume a little bit less of the calories that you're already burning. So you just put yourself on a caloric deficit, and eventually you're gonna lose weight. Um,
Yeah.
and you just maintain that for like 3 months, and you should be good. But it's it's hard, it it's I think that's like so crazy. Like it's really hard to do simple things. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, definitely like this the storytelling uh and also another thing that I found crazy is that when looking at the startups, um what makes there's a research, this is from a book that I read called um oh I cannot remember right now, but if when it pops in my head I'm gonna say it. But basically the research is like how can some companies have stayed on the S&P 500 for decades, or a
Yeah.
long time. Like, how can a company be one of the best performance in the market for a long time? Like, there must be something that they're doing in order to
Hmm.
maintain that position. So that's like the research that the book was trying to figure out. And basically, at the end of the day, they concluded that the companies that remain at the top are because they have a really good mission state. Like, they know their mission statement, and they have their
Hmm.
values really, like,
Concrete.
yeah, exactly. um and you can say that about like principles, right? Like, if you know like your if you know like the principles, if you know your values, then everything's just gonna follow after that. Like, having a good foundation, it's really crucial to doing something big. And
Uh-huh.
that's something that I wanna I try to incorporate into my life. But like I said, it's like, I think it's really hard to maintain those things, even though they're like simple.
So now that you're talking about those, like kind of knowing what you want and following what you structured for yourself to do it, and yeah, it at the end it's difficult to accomplish. How the with the example that you put, that reminds me of what I told you right now, before the podcast, the stoicism that
Hmm.
we generally just can control ourselves and what we do and not anything else.
Hmm.
So I with how we're living right now with coronavirus, I find it that it kind of relates with that, because you want to do something and it's really hard because you find or external like complications or like hurdles that put you to the point that you no, I cannot do it. And I and with your what you're talking about, I believe that it's hard to we have to learn how to control ourselves to the point that, okay, if this is hard, this is going to be difficult to me, but it's going to help me out in the end. And with
Hmm.
your example with the company, if we put ourselves as the company and just ignore all the competition, like let's say I'm Apple and I ignore Google and at this point Intel with the whole CPU stuff, they're just gonna concentrate on what they're doing, what they can control. And right now, well, we know how that apparently not apparently that Apple was like the first $1 trillion company
Hmm.
not so long ago. But yeah, I on what you're saying, yeah, it's a hard mentality and mindset to overcome. And I think that it comes with age, that and with experience, that okay, in high school probably we didn't suffer so much of the consequences, but now in our 20s we know that, okay, like I'm at the point, I'm an adult, I cannot say, oh, I couldn't do this because of this external reason. And with the example of working out, it yeah, like you just, if you want to actually be at the body, you want to have the body that you're thriving to be, is just not being lazy. You know
Hmm.
what you're supposed to do, and you know that it's gonna be hard, but at the moment we don't really feel the gratification of it until you get there. So it's a really hard
Hmm.
mentality to overcome.
Hmm.
And I like that you give that example, because recently I've been trying to be more of like, okay, don't be lazy. And because I knew what exactly wanted to do, and I don't know if this happens with you, that what you have to do to get to the point that you want to be.
Yeah.
But it's just hard. It's
Yeah.
just hard
Yeah.
because like, because you're comfortable. You're
Yeah.
comfortable. You're just in your at your home, or let's say you're just watching TV, and you have to study, or you have to you have to start working out or whatever. It's hard. It's hard because, especially because we are our own like self motivator, and if you don't self motivate yourself accordingly to your value, I feel that you're not gonna like the laziness part of yourself is gonna overcome like your self motivator.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really it's a mindset I feel that we have to develop ourselves, and it also comes with age. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
balance of like, if it doesn't come with age, we have to really work on it ourselves. But if it comes with age early, you don't have to work on it so much. But it's like it's like it's not like the lottery, but it's a self evaluation of where you are at that time. Do you have to
Mm-hmm.
work on it, or do you really want it, or do you not?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
well,
definitely.
this I was gonna ask you real quick, with that on mind, on trying to not be lazy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what or who is the one that motivates you to, like, get up the couch or like not be lazy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.